Speaking of Jason Momoa, I could make myself look like Jason Momoa if I want. I could make myself look like John Mahan if I wanted to.
It's an absolute joy to welcome back to the show a gentleman who has just been in the UK in support of 20 years of a hangover you don't deserve and will be back in December with an early Christmas present in the form of a Wembley Arena show. Of course, from your favourite band, it's Jaret from Bowling for Soup.
That is the greatest intro of all time. I'm so excited. And you're right. It is kind of an early Christmas thing, right? I can't think of any better way to celebrate than to come see our first Wembley Arena headline show.
And it will be a sellout. We're going to get there.
Yeah, got to do it.
So, how are you doing? Obviously, you've just been in the UK. I saw you in Bournemouth. Just an
Yeah,
awesome show. Um,
thank you.
Now, obviously, the tour's done. You're back at home. You feeling good?
Yeah, man. Well, I came home and had a few days rest, and then I got sick, which was actually pretty good timing because I usually get worried about getting sick when I'm over in the UK just because it's damp and cold and it seems to be going around everywhere. But anyway, I got sick over the weekend and now I'm feeling great. It's a beautiful day here in Texas. There's a nice breeze blowing and the sun's out and couldn't be any better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. And one thing about the tour, which I
Yeah.
absolutely loved, was you had two support bands, which so many gigs nowadays you only get one. So that's an amazing
Okay.
thing. And then
Yeah.
also you had John Mahon DJing, and I love John. He's just such a
Yeah.
great guy, and he has
Isn't
so much energy.
isn't he great? Yeah, he's just such a wonderful human being as well. And he's one of those guys where he's successful in his own right, so he didn't need to be as appreciative as he was to be on the tour, but he was just so appreciative of having his spot, and he rode the bus with us, and was just always there to pitch in and make the night easier and help us along with the bits that we if we needed him to and things like that. So, yeah, and it's funny because back in the day we used to do four band bills,
Yeah.
and I guess they were just really long nights. I'm not sure how all that worked because it's not like we played any less time, but I think our show is around 2 hours, and so I think trying to get three support bands in there would have been a little tough. But I'm glad, man. It was just such a banger. Wheatus and Magnolia Park were just awesome, and can't just. I mean, again, I'm still getting over how awesome it was.
It really was. It's the first time I've seen Magnolia Park, and I love the way they're like, yeah, this is probably the first and only mosh pit you're gonna get at a Bowling for Soup gig, but let's go.
Yeah, these days, I mean that, quite, obviously when we were all younger, it was kind of like just people flying all over the place all the time, and yeah, these days it's kind of a mix. There's a lot of really young people and there's a lot of older people in there that just a lot of people that are just like, man, I don't want to sit here and bump into people for 2 hours. My back will hurt tomorrow at work. And
Yeah.
so we totally get it. But yeah, it's funny because we'll have bands that come and play with us and they're just like, y'all start a circle pit. And you just sort of look around at our audience and just, there's two guys that even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, because there was one thing that, like, at the Bournemouth show, I swear there were people there that they weren't even old enough to have been born when Don't Hangover came out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we were celebrating 20 years and we have little kids that come to the shows and it's just, it's just, for me, I love the fact that generations are sort of crossing and sharing the
Yeah,
band and the music and pop punk has always kind of been one of those genres that parents and kids can agree on. It's fast enough to where it's fun and energetic and people like to sing along. And so, um, I think that's one of the aspects of the longevity of pop punk is that each generation just sort of introduces that next generation to it, and it just keeps going on.
yeah, it's very true. So it's pretty much been like a year since we last spoke. It was February last year, and obviously a lot's changed for Bowling for Soup. And obviously
Yeah,
the biggest thing is Chris retiring, which I think
yeah.
has been one of the most beautifully handled things that I've ever seen a band do, with just so
Thank
much
you.
like love and compassion in it, and like
Yeah. Well,
It's just
I mean, we didn't, it wasn't a thing where, the band broke up or, or that we were at odds or, or anything like that. It was, he started to have some health problems last June, and we regrettably had to send him home right before we played Download. And
yeah.
we played Download as a three-piece. That was our second show ever, as a three-piece. So obviously, there was a lot of emotion on that run. But just the main thing is just that he's able to stay healthy and live a great life, that he's earned. He rocked out for 30 years, and being on the road is hard. People think about it as just being, on stage for 2 hours or on a bus or this, but you got to think too, it's just the constant travel. Sometimes just the walk in an airport, if you've ever traveled around Europe, like you land and it's 3 mile walk, to wherever you're going. And so sometimes, it's just a lot of physical tolls being taken. And so, I think he made the right decision, and we certainly support that.
Yeah. How's he doing now? Is he all good now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, like he doesn't really like his health to be the only thing that we talk about, so we don't really harp on it a lot.
Yeah.
We check in and things like that, but we have several threads that go around with various crew guys and band threads and all this stuff, and he's always throwing in a joke here and there. So our guitar tech went and visited him and did a few things with him just right before that UK tour, and came and just was like, man, he's the same old Chris. And so, that I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, also yeah, it was 20 years of Hangover You Don't Deserve. Are there any other albums you would consider doing an anniversary tour for?
Well, we did Drunk Enough to Dance in the UK and released an album live at Brixton, which gosh, I guess that was a 15th anniversary, maybe, or 20. I don't know. It was a long time ago. You know what? I don't think so. I mean, I kind of feel like that might be the last of our album tours. I really enjoy doing it. I
Yeah,
liked doing it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Um, and it's cool to to know what you're going to do every night. But I miss the spontaneity. If you've seen Bowling for Soup on a non-album tour, like if you see us night to night, they're not the same show. We don't use a set list. We just get out there and see whatever happens. And so I really like that. Um, but I guess you could never say never, because I know that people really love Burrito and people really love Sorry for Partying. So I guess you just and then Drunk Enough to Dance will be 25 before we know it. So gosh, who knows? I guess we'll just see.
yeah. Just take it as it comes.
Take it as it comes.
So obviously another big thing that is happening is you're playing the Warp Tour, which
Yeah,
like in the UK, I think it came over to the UK like twice, but like in the
yeah.
US it was a lot bigger. Like how important was that festival for you as a band, and how important is it to be invited back to do the 30th anniversary?
Yeah, I mean the experience that you gained from being on Warp Tour, because it's something that you have to experience to be able to do it, because it really I don't really know that it could happen in any other country, because the way that it works is you drive to a spot and they set this thing up and it happens that day, and then you get up and you drive to the next place and they set it up and you get up and you do it, and it's everybody's driving themselves, and you're you know we call it, when you join the military here, you go to what's called boot camp. And we consider that, sort of punk rock boot camp. You sort of go in there and you're earning your stripes, so to speak. And, you really learn who you are as a band, as a musician, but as a human. And, you're right out there with the fans, and there's no hiding. You're selling your own merch. It's a beating, but it was so fulfilling. And it's one of those things where we did so many of them. I think we did 9 of the Warp Tours, and you know that's a badge of honor. To not only to up and coming bands, but to bands that have been around for a long time. When you can say, oh yeah, we did 9 Warp Tours. What? Oh my God, that's amazing. And so but some of the best times in the world, because the thing would be over by like 7 o'clock, and you wouldn't roll till 2 o'clock in the morning, and so most of your day you're just hanging out with your buddies, and you set up a tent by your bus, and we had a grill, we cook out and have some beers and some whiskey, and just made lifelong friends out there. And so big deal for our band, and for fans as well.
Yeah. It just, yeah, it looks amazing. It's just one of those things that I think when it came over here, I don't think it has the same effect as it did in the
Yeah.
States.
Well, it was more of just a festival. It was a
Yeah.
small festival. We did it one year. And I mean, quite frankly, the festivals that you guys are used to, I just don't think that it was comparable enough. It did it, but it was great, and the turnout was awesome. But I think it was 2 stages, whereas Warped Tour is usually 6 or 8 stages.
Yeah.
It's not as vast as like what you would think. When you go to a download or a slam dunk, they're closer than you think together. Like it's not a huge area. It's just the way that they face them and stuff, to where you can go and see, you can literally run to all these different bands. And so it's definitely a special tour for sure.
Yeah. So what nowadays, because you've been doing this for 30 plus years, what makes a gig memorable? Like what one, go, that's going to stay with me, and like it kind of doesn't just blend into, we've done thousands of shows, like it's
Yeah.
just all becoming one.
It's almost always like some sort of interaction with the band, between the band. It's something funny that somebody says, or something that does, or if we get an audience member up on stage to do something, play a song, or to do a dance or whatever, those kind of things. Sometimes it's the banter between myself and the audience. It's just there's usually one or two things that happen each night, to where if we start talking about a certain show, one of us will go, "Oh, that's the night that this happened," and so and again, that's sort of the beauty of not going out there with like a rehearsed show, where we go, we're not one of those bands that has like a rehearsed banter and we play the same songs every night. It's just that, to me, that takes the fun out of it for us. I understand why bands do it, and it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have a lot of lighting and a lot of production and things like that. People need to know when certain things are happening. But yeah, it's definitely, I try and keep everything as spontaneous as possible.
Yeah, I think that definitely it shows in the best of ways.
Yeah.
Was it? Am I remember this right? But you ended up just talking about the boys for a little bit in Bournemouth.
What's that?
You just ended up talking about
Oh,
the boys.
yeah. Well, I mean, that can happen any show, but yeah, we just ended up talking about The Boys, about the television show The Boys. I don't really, and that's the other thing about things being so spontaneous, is sometimes somebody will come up and be like, "Hey, at this show, do you remember you talked about this?" And I'm like, "I don't remember that, but remind me, because I bet it was funny."
Yeah, I think it led on from, you were talking about the C bomb, and then you're like, oh, the boys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could be it.
There was a
Oh,
connection there.
no, you're right. That's when we talked about the fact that the guy had sex with an octopus.
Yeah,
And yeah, we kind of went into that whole thing or whatever. But yeah, it's a great show, by the way.
it is one of my favorite. I love the way, out of context, that seems so mental. Oh yeah, he just had
Yeah,
sex with an octopus. What?
yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah. If you didn't, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just got an octopus has 8 arms and teeth. So just it sounds terrifying.
I can't think of anything worse.
No, yeah, it's honestly, it sounds brutal, but the guy on the show seemed to enjoy it.
He did. I mean, his one thing is talking to, yeah, because that's what. Then it led on to talking to Fish, Aquaman, and then you called John Mahon the Aquaman of the UK. What's it? Jason Momoa of the UK?
Yeah, he's the Jason Momoa of the UK. Yeah, I would. Some nights I would introduce him, and make some sort of Jason Momoa joke or whatever. But and he's so sweet. I mean, John Mahan is such a sweet guy. He would actually blush, and turn red. And so it's fun to do that every once in a while.
Yeah. Um. So I was going to ask a question, but then I was googling earlier, and somebody's already asked it, and it's about the girl or the bad guys want video, and whether you met the people afterwards and how they reacted, which I thought was quite funny when you said Corey loved it, Fred Durst hated it, and then Aaron was like about it. But whose
Yeah.
original idea was the video?
Well, actually, and that, but Fred's cool. I mean, I just, and these are just things that I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact that Corey loved it because he's told us, and I know that Aaron hated it, but we're fine. I had just heard that Fred wasn't really a fan of the whole thing, but we saw them at download, and he was like, "You guys are awesome," and so I guess he's not mad about it anymore. But the spoof of that video was that particular video was the director's idea. The guys that had directed the bitch song before that, and then also went on to do Punk Rock 101 as well, Smith and Boren. And so it was their idea because the song really was originally about singers that are mad at their dad. And so that it was just like, let's poke fun at all of the guys that are the face of MTV right now and the easily recognizable and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it certainly worked. And despite ruffling a few feathers, apparently the guy from Disturbed was the maddest at us, and
Really?
maybe it's just because he wasn't in it, but I was just like, what's that guy pissed about? Like we didn't even make fun of him, but yeah, but who knows?
No, it's really weird because obviously I love the fact that you still make music videos, but a lot of bands just don't anymore because obviously there's not the same sort of outlet as there used to be. But like, what is your favorite Bowling for Soup video that you've done?
Well, it's hard to beat 1985, but Almost is my favorite one actually. That one was just a lot of fun to make, and it was a fun day, and weather was nice, and but yeah, I mean, When We Die was really fun too, but I think Almost would be my favorite one.
Yeah. And what is your favorite video just of all time in terms of like a band?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, gosh, you're right. It's been so long since I've watched a video. I mean, the one that I probably watched the most as a kid was Too Young to Fall in Love by Motley Crue, but that was in the 80s when
Yeah.
you actually had to sit by the television and wait for it to come on.
Yeah. I remember that because that's how I discovered you was via watching On Kerrang, and then The Girl All the Bad Guys Want came on, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, who's this girl? And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a good song as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, and it's hard to make videos these days because it's just you don't really want to spend a lot of money on them, and so I do. Sometimes we'll make a video, like we made a few videos for this last record, but sometimes I just get on Fiverr and just do something stupid, and so we have a few coming out that are like less labor intensive for us. We got an animated one and then a really creepy one coming out. So, but yeah, I mean, YouTube is still the biggest place for discovery. So you got to have something up there.
Yeah. No, I love a music video, and I'm just sad it's not as big as they used to be because
Yeah.
I used to love just sitting there and watching TV. And I remember like once was it MTV2 in the UK did this thing when Corn released Here to Stay that from 6 o'clock they played it for an hour solid the video, and I was like,
Yeah.
Mum, can I please book up the TV between 6 and 7?
Right. Yeah. Attention spans, man. It's just hard to keep people's attention that long. You get 7, 15 seconds, and that's about it these days.
I know it's sad. I'd like to think it would shift at some point, but I'm not too sure it will.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like we're sort of playing into it, as a society. I mean, Disney mastered it and we're all chasing it, and of course I don't think Disney's the devil because I sometimes work for them. But I mean, they're very, very smart in what they do and how everything that they put out, every 6 to 10 seconds, there's something that stimulates your brain and they're onto something, and they've been doing that for years. And now people have caught on and are doing it on TikTok and Reels and YouTube. And it's just that, whatever the science behind it is, people are starting to figure it out.
Yeah. So that's kind of one thing. Like now with bands, you have to do a lot more online content, TikToks and things like that, which you do a lot and you're a lot of fun with it. Like,
Yeah.
how easy has that been to kind of go, well, this is now part of the job that I kind of have to do this? Is it something you enjoy doing, or is it kind of something that you're like, I just need to do it because we need to keep getting this going?
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of both, but for the most part, it's I really enjoy doing it. I mean it's a bit weird that I spend more time editing video now than I do making music, and that's odd. But
Yeah.
again, it's sort of like these things are. I'm a theater kid who started a band, so it is sort of made for me. And then I do have the mental health thing that I like to talk about, and I enjoy making people smile. So I certainly don't mind it. I will say that sometimes if I haven't posted, they say that if you don't post every day, you get penalized and all that. And so sometimes if I go a couple of days, it does stress me out a little bit. And I don't like that aspect of it. But at the same time, there's tools out there that, with just recycling content and things like that, to where if you just commit to it and do it, you can build it up. And so I always fall off really hard whenever we get on tour because I just get busy and I'm just not as good at posting. And luckily, we are starting to build a social media team that can kind of keep it going whenever I'm doing other things. So, again, it's just finding that balance. But for the most part, to answer your question, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. I think that comes across because I do like every time yours come up, I do actually watch them all in full. I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like just
Thank
those
you.
30 seconds to brighten someone's day.
Yeah, that's it, right? Just something silly or whatever. I'm actually right now at the pharmacy, and where I made the one where I talk about longhorn cattle. That's just right over there. For the radio listener, I'm just sitting in this parking lot, and it's there's a field, and so there, on one side of me there's just commerce and cars and stuff, and then if you look on the other side, it's just a huge grassy field with trees and stuff, and there's just enormous longhorn cattle in there. And that's Texas for you.
Yeah, I mean that is the most Texas you can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of my favorite ones you did was you just went to a tattoo parlor and just went, oh, we're gonna just get a gumball out and then we can have that design.
Yeah, I did that with my wife. That was a fun one, and we did that as a date. In fact, I told her the other day. I said we need to do that again some weekend when we're not doing anything. Let's just go get something random.
That,
So I'm sure there'll be a part two to that soon.
that's an awesome date idea. I might try and convince
Yeah,
my wife to do that.
not bad, right?
Yeah. Right. We had a game last time, so I've done a new game for you this time round. Um,
Okay.
it's called These Are Your Songs. Surely you must know them. All I've played this with a few people, and Frank got his all correct because he would. I've read a
Yeah,
statement.
but he's super smart and like he reads a lot. So like that's it's not freaking fair. Like he's a wordsmith. We'll just see. I'm not holding who's the second best. That's who I want to be.
I think the lottery winners.
Okay. So what did they get?
I think they got like 9 out of 10 of the
Okay,
list.
so my goal is 9.
So
We'll see
all
if
it
I
is
can't.
just yeah, it's just remembering just picking out your song titles from this paragraph that I've written, and there is
Okay.
that's it. Right,
All
so
right.
hey Mario, I have lots of questions to ask you, and none are about life after Lisa or my wiener, as I haven't had a cold shower Tuesdays in a while. Instead, I want to know about that time you almost wore a trucker hat in 1985 whilst running from your dad. Also, did you ever get the girl all the bad guys want? Was it Emily or Alexa Bliss? Do you know what happens when we die? Do we get to go to the last rock show while shouting out the window, high school never ends?
15.
Boom! Yes! Straight away.
Yeah. Man, I wish I would have understood what we were doing.
That's my fault, but like piss poor
Well, at
explaining.
first I thought you were gonna just read something, and I had to like take my lyrics and tell you the title of it, and then I was like, oh, okay, so now I got to repeat back. God, that would have been hard if I had to say back all of the songs that you
Oh yeah,
said.
that's really mean. I may do that
Yeah,
next time with someone.
yeah, but I mean, good Lord, I probably could have done 10, but then when you kept going, I was like, oh man, he's making this harder.
I'm not
But
that
yeah,
mean.
okay, all right, that's a good game.
Right, yeah. So like we said at the start, the big thing for this year, or at least for us, is the fact you're coming back for Wembley Arena, 13th
Yeah,
of December. It's going to be your biggest ever headline show. This is
yeah.
just awesome.
It's awesome, and it's crazy for us. It's one of these things. We started this band in 1994, me and Chris Burney, and we did 9 years in a van, just going around trying to get play to anybody that would listen, and had our first real hit in 2003. girl the bad guys want. And then, it's just been just an awesome ride. And just the fact that we're doing better worldwide than we ever have, uh, on all different levels is just, it's amazing. And we're just enjoying it, and feel very, very lucky to still be doing this. So can't wait to see everybody at Wembley. And, I hope, hopefully you and I can catch up again before then.
That'd be awesome. I mean, one thing after seeing you in Bournemouth, I think you are one of the very few artists who I think your voice is actually getting better the older you get.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's true. It really is, actually. And producers say that and stuff. I don't really know. Honestly, I really wasn't a singer is the thing. I had sung for a metal band because we couldn't find anybody to do it. And then, I really, I, it was really never my intention to be the vocalist of the band. In fact, even when I started Bowling for Soup, our first album, me and Eric switch off. We're both singing lead, and it was still kind of trying to decide exactly what we were going to sound like. And as I started to write more of the songs, it just sort of became, okay, well, this is the way that we're going to sound. It makes the most sense. And so, yeah, I mean, vocally, I definitely, my range is better. I definitely have way more control than I ever have. And so, I feel very blessed in that, because I'm going to be totally honest. I don't take care of my voice. I don't warm up. I don't drink warm tea. I drink way too much beer. I eat shitty food, not as bad as I have, in recent years, because I'm trying to drop some weight. But, I stay up way too late. I get up too early, just all of the things that are bad for your voice, I do. But, for some reason, I was granted the ability to sing my stuff. And, so, it's awesome.
yeah, like I said, it sounded amazing. You do sound absolutely like crystal. It's just fucking awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank
And
you.
then,
Well, we're gonna release a live album. We recorded that tour in Manchester, and we're not fixing anything. We're literally just releasing it as is, no overdubs. It's me, Rob, Gary, me and Rob singing. That's it. And so you're gonna get it the way that it was presented at the show, and I'm very proud of that. I think, I know a lot of bands can do that and can say that, but it feels good to be one of them.
yeah, I love the fact that's what you're doing, because there's a lot of people that will be like, oh, well, let's tweak this and just tweak that. But I love the fact
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
here's what it is. It is what it is. If it's a little
yeah.
bit wrong, that's what it was on the night.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely know a couple of places where I've made a mistake, and I'm leaving it in, because it's like, I think that's what makes it a rock show.
Yeah, mistakes and just carrying on with them. And yeah, I could go into some massive deep dive on how I think that editing things and stuff is just
Yeah.
it's not real. Like, I hate that the stupid Google thing on your phone. We're like, oh well, you could just take the photo, then hand it to someone else, and take another photo and just put it. I was like, that's not real. Then, or change the faces. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the
Right.
moment. You're ruining the moment.
Right. Yeah. 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 Totally, man. Yeah. It makes you glad that you're not on dating sites, like you're married, right? So
Yeah,
I've never been on a dating site before, because I've never been, I was never single while that was a thing. And so, but I just can't imagine, because everybody can make themselves look amazing, and so I feel bad for everybody out there trying to find somebody based upon photos, because Jesus Christ, you could make, speaking of Jason Momoa, I could make myself look like Jason Momoa if I want. I could make myself look like John Mahan if I wanted to, and but anyway, so my wife and I both, we're glad we're off the market. I'm glad you're off the market, bro. I'm glad you
yeah,
don't have to deal with that.
yeah. I did, but luckily,
Mm,
the way I met my wife was because this isn't the best of looks for a photo. So I just put
right.
myself up with pictures with loads of different bands, and she just went messaging me going, "Oh, you've met this band, this band." I was like, "Cool, yes, you know who all these people
So
are."
so smart, dude. So smart. Wow. I've never heard that, but that is really smart. Like, because I've heard of people doing like funny stuff, like, here's a picture of me on a camel, or whatever, but like, just to show, and like, not only did you meet one man, but like, because of your job you get to meet like tons of people and stuff, and
Yeah,
you're just like, yeah, hey, I'm showing you who I am. Very smart.
yeah. And then she just went, "Oh, I've met Dave Grohl," and I was like, oh, "I don't like you anymore.
Damn it. Yeah. Well,
You got the top trump straight away."
yeah, he is a really nice guy. That's a good one.
Yeah. Was he saying that? I've seen so many TikToks and Instagram reels things of just really lovely stories about you. and like loads of people saying that you are now the nicest person in rock.
Well, I certainly do try to be. I just try to be a good human being. I treat everybody the way that I would want to be treated. I met a bunch of bands, and this is honestly, I say it from the standpoint of Jaret from Bowling for Soup when I say this, but I'm really just like this all the time. I mean, I'm nice to my detriment. I think my wife sort of rolls her eyes sometimes because she does think that I'm the nicest person in the world, but she also gets to see, anxious Jaret, or I don't really get angry a lot, but I have, and
Yeah,
she's seen it, but yeah, it's I try. That's all I can say. I really do try and just put my best foot forward all the time when I'm interacting with other people, and just to leave something in their memory to where they can carry that back with them and just be like, you know what, man, that dude's a nice guy. And I've certainly made mistakes in my life, and but I'm just a positive person, and I try to rub that off, have that rub off on everybody.
yeah,
I think negativity is just so. I honestly think like negativity is part of like what makes people sick, and it just I just feel like we just almost do it to ourselves. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
yeah. But I love the fact that you have that positive mindset because it's a really good thing to say, but a really hard thing to do. And I
Yeah,
know so many people that want to be positive, but actually it does come across. And I remember there was another video you did where you're like, if you see me, just come say hello.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
be
just
afraid.
please do. Like, it's weird if you're just taking pictures of me from across the thing, or if you're like, or like or you send me a message, and because this happens a lot where somebody's like, I saw you at such and such, and you're just like, well, why didn't you say anything? Like, because if I was picking my nose or something, I'd rather get a photo where I wasn't doing that. So, but yeah, man. And you know what, man? I actually genuinely like people. I don't really like crowds a lot, which is the whole thing that I have to deal with on my own with anxiety and stuff. So, I have trouble. I don't really like, like it takes a lot. Like, I actually just said this to a person on the internet. They were like, I saw you in this small club, but my husband said at the bar because he doesn't like crowds or whatever. And I'm like, I'm the same way. It takes a real special band to get me to go to a place like that. Like, it's got to be the Descendants or, Alkaline Trio for me to put myself in that kind of position. So, uh, anyway, I get it.
Just the mention of Alkaline Trio, fucking love them. They are so good.
So good. Great songwriters, and just such a cool, they're just cool, and I like them. And yeah, great.
From Here to the Infirmary is one of my top 10 albums of all time.
Totally agree.
It's
Yeah,
flawless.
totally agree.
They are so good. Yes, so I know you've got another interview in a minute as well, so I need to kind of wrap this up.
I do. Yes.
So yes, so we got the Wembley show, which we're really looking forward to, and you got Wheatus in support, which again, they were great, and they are a
Yep.
lot of fun as well. Like every time I see them,
Wheatus
they're just fun.
and Wheatus, and also, a band that I found during the pandemic on TikTok, and just have followed and remained friends with, Punk Rock Factory.
Yes.
So happy to see their success, and I love the fact that they've stuck with it. They haven't tried to change their brand or anything. They know what works, and they're sticking with it, and they're doing it. Now they're touring the world. It's so cool to see. And then again, we fell in love with John Mahan, so he'll be DJing in between sets. It's going to be an epic night. It's going to be, production wise, it's going to be something that we've never done, and I just can't wait for everybody to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking forward to it. Like I said, it's a beautiful early Christmas present for everyone. And
Absolutely.
thank you so much as always, Jaret. I love chatting to you. It's always so much fun. And yeah, we'll see you hopefully before December then.
Sounds great, brother. See you next time.
Amazing. Thank you much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.